So, yo. Okay, we were just about to launch into Taurus Scorpio opposition.
Yes. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology UK. I'm Rod Chang, and today with me is a Sophia brother and Marcus Parchet. Well, hello everyone. Happy Lunar Eclipse. Are you happy?
Today.
Mixed bag. All right, it's been interesting. Mixed bag. It's been interesting. I felt extremely. I don't know whether this is common to other people, but extremely anxious all week, and that's not just because I know it's the lunar eclipse. It's just like this. Okay. Have you felt similar or not?
I just feel a little bit tired today.
Okay, yeah, and very, very demotivated. The last couple of days, it's just been doing anything. It's been like, but I don't know. I mean, that may be just because it's squaring my Saturn and in my ascendant, descendant thing. So.
Might have something to do with it, Marcus. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think there are a few things we can talk about it, but then I would suggest, because we go to the most basic one. How about that? Is this axis about the sun in Scorpio and moon in Taurus? This axis, because it's a full moon, and then I think this is quite important. I mean, stick with the fundamental things is, always good idea. And so how about Sue? Give us some idea about this axis between Scorpio and Taurus.
Okay. Well, I think that you first have to think just a little bit about what does Scorpio mean and what does Taurus mean, right? Then you can look at how it is that they interact with each other. So Sun in Scorpio, or just Scorpio, is a very intensely emotional sign, if you like. People who have that position of any planet, especially the sun, are likely to be very emotional people, but they don't necessarily show it. It's a bit hidden. It's about emotions hidden below the surface that are felt at a very intense level, right? So when I said at the beginning that it's something about acquiring things, well, so it is. Sun, let's stay with Sun for a moment. Sun in Scorpio tends to acquire people and relationships and connections and so on. It's not so much things with Scorpio, it's more emotional experiences that mean something to a Scorpionic energy. So it's like if you have a connection with people at quite a deep level, it can be, for a Scorpionic person, it can make them want to kind of take that on board and almost like own it or almost possess it in certain situations, not every situation, right? On the other hand, Taurus, its opposite number, right? It's an earthy sign, whereas Scorpio is watery. And Taurus is more connected with the earth, with practicality, with acquiring things that represent a sort of security for you. So sort of a Taurus security level. So for the Scorpionic person, security is knowing where you're at with regard to your close connections within other individuals or areas that are very emotional for you. And Taurus is more to do with having close connections or acquiring things that represent your security, also represent you looking after your own physical body, because it's an earthly sign.
So I heard a few things a few themes you're talking about is about I think the feeling, emotion, and also the materialized thingy, and also they both related to kind of a security level, right? Okay, Marcus, what would you say about this axis from your view? You want to add something up?
Not well. I guess from a traditional point of view, I'm just trying to think what I would add there. I mean, just on the basic level, obviously they're earth and water, so they're both traditionally feminine, archetypally feminine, negative signs. That sometimes has relevance when you're talking about eclipses and stuff in terms of weather or real life phenomena, the kinds of things that may be affected, you know. So this eclipse happening in an earth sign in Taurus,
Yep.
it could literally affect things from the earth or of the earth. Also, they are fixed signs, so the fixity, you know, all of the fixed signs, I think it was Charles Carter who actually is modern astrology, who wrote something really great about the fixed signs. He said all of the sin of the fixed signs is pride. And I thought that was really interesting. And you know, so the sin of Taurus is pride in its possessions, that of Leo, pride in itself, that in Aquarius, pride in its ideas, and that of Scorpio, he said quite evocatively, was kind of like the pride of Milton's Satan, where it's kind of like, which is a bit heavy, but he's exactly right, because it's pride in no one can possibly understand the depth of my feelings. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Which is the perfect analogy. So the sin of all of that. So what's interesting is when you have an eclipse, because it's disruptive, it may it evokes something of that sort of the pride thing, and in Taurus it may sort of disrupt something to do with pride in one's possessions and pride in one's security, one's belongings. I think there's a few more things I could say, but that's all I've got off the top of my head.
That is quite interesting.
That's very interesting. So immediately make me think, you know, what Leo could do as being pride, because Leo is about, as you said, pride in itself. Looking at all the other fixed signs, I mean, so Leo is pride in itself, which means that the Leo is very vulnerable, because if the Leo's pride in itself is pricked badly or upset by something or somebody, then they can feel extremely vulnerable.
Yes, and just as a tangent from that, Sue, I mean, we don't want to get too far into the weeds, but the very word pride is, of course, what's used to refer to a group of lions. So it's archetypally Leo, isn't it? Really?
Indeed.
Indeed. Yeah. Here I just show Shirley today's lunar eclipse chart. It was indeed was this morning in UK. 8:57. I think people say, oh, we can see it. Yes, I think we can see the beginning of lunar eclipse, but not for long, not really for long. Maybe like, I don't know, even could we see it for 10 minutes or something? I don't know. But I was wondering about it when people say we can see it. Yes, not for long, but yes, kind of, technically we can see it. Yeah, but
that's interesting. Did it fall on the eclipse map you showed last week, Rod, from the NASA site? Was the edges of the eclipse just over Britain then?
Right? It was.
Okay.
It was. It was. So yes, technically we can see it, but I don't know for how long. Maybe just a few minutes. I guess, but. You know, but that is not the main thing, because everybody get up early, like 7 something, when the sky's still dark, and then we can, the lunar eclipse, and then
I think this is one I'd rather not see, to be honest. You know, I'd rather not. It is
very interesting. I like to talk about this just for 3 minutes. Because I know some astrologer, they don't like to see eclipses. Because that's the some people, I don't know your reason, but people would say that is like a bad omen. No, it's not. It's not that. But I do know that some people feel that way about them. That's a very traditional way of thinking, actually. Because like in ancient peoples, eclipses were usually a bad omen. But no, it's just from the exactly. But it's just from the point of view that wherever an eclipse is visible in the world, as I mentioned last week, that it's going to have some effect on that location. So this eclipse falling, as we talked about a bit last week, falling on the most malefic fixed star in the sky, Algol. Yes, there's some mitigation from Jupiter. Yes, some of Algol's meanings are not it's not totally negative. Nothing in astrology is. But this is personally one I'd rather not be able to see from the place where I lived. Do you know what I mean? Now I get it. It's just okay. Now I get it.
If you're in America, you're not got much choice, really.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
But talk about this eclipse is one thing, because it formed a T-square with Jupiter, I think, because Yeah, yes, that's 3 degrees orb, but I think it's still, I don't want to say tight, but it's 40 square with Jupiter in 24-degree Aquarius. How we say it? Is that bring something? I don't know, because when some astrologer focus on me, I have to admit I don't feel comfortable, although I don't like say
Well,
the Argo bring something, but
we can posit some general
yeah.
ideas or theories.
Mhm.
I mean, so firstly, for me, some ideas I've had about the moon in Taurus. Taurus being a sign associated with the Earth, and it's a sign strong. It's ruled by Venus, and the moon is very dignified in Taurus. So it's really a Venus moon dominant sign. So that implies stuff like food, fruits, cereals, comfort, produce, luxury goods. With an eclipse in Taurus, there may be some disruption to things like food supply, crops, harvests, but also luxury goods. And then falling on Algol, I would expect that eclipse to make people, if there is any disruption, for that to make people go a bit crazy, because that's what Algol does. It makes people lose their heads a bit. So, and then squaring Jupiter, Jupiter, I think, is going to, because traditionally it's a helpful planet, it is going to offer some protection from the worst potentials here, I think, but it's also going to, because Jupiter inflates stuff, it's going to maybe inflate people's, maybe make some people a bit more over the top about in their reactions. And I think Jupiter in Aquarius, just some other thoughts off the top of my head, it's Jupiter's about ideology and beliefs, and Aquarius is about sort of social sort of systems or sort of social behaviors and boundaries in social behavior. So there's something about whatever disruption globally this eclipse is the harbinger of for the next 3 or 4 months, perhaps in terms of crops, perhaps in terms of food supply, perhaps in terms of luxury good, particularly those areas of the world where the eclipse is most visible, traditionally would be said to be affected. And any countries where it's falling on a really key point in the chart, there may be some, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think how that could play out. It may be that people's beliefs, I don't know, I haven't put this fully together, but it's like that people could go a bit nuts, but there may be some of the worst, because some astrologers have really gone to town predicting like all kinds of crazy famines and whatever. I actually think Jupiter's going to be a bit more constructive here, but I do think there will be some sort of like there's going to be a clash, because that's what a square is, between maybe public belief in something or sort of humanitarian intentions and what's actually happening in some way. I don't know how that will play out though.
Okay, so I'll just add in something to that. I mean, I put the chart up, before we started today, and I set it up for America, because that's one of the areas where
I think I have it
visible.
Great.
So it twists it around. The chart that you have obviously is set for London. This is set for New York, and on that's the chart that I've got.
Okay.
And on that one, the Sun Moon opposition of the eclipse, which is a full moon, of course, is falling across the 2nd and the 8th houses.
Yes, indeed.
Which is actually rather interesting, because I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not too sure about the whole of the rest of the world, but certainly there's a lot of problems here with regard to finance, which is an issue that could come up. They talk about inflation, for example.
Yes.
Inflation happening in Britain. I don't know. Do either of you know what's happening in America with regard to inflation?
Not at all.
I don't really know. I'm sorry.
I think they also deal with some financial thing. Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a financial issue in many countries in the world, actually, which is an interesting thing, because it's like a reflection of quite high spiraling inflation, certainly here, and maybe in the States as well, and that's rather interesting. But I want to add in too what Marcos has been saying about Jupiter. it's a kind of counterbalance a little bit.
Ah,
You know, perhaps it suggests that the inflation will not get completely out of control because the Jupiter will kind of hold it in a little bit, somehow contain it.
Yeah, I think
Or
something.
maybe inflate it more.
Yeah, I don't, because that's the thing. The word inflation makes me think of Jupiter.
Jupiter,
Actually,
yes.
do you know what I mean? But you're right, Sue. It's an interesting one in the sense that Jupiter traditionally was one of the. If you read traditional financial astrology texts, some astrologers say Jupiter's linked to low prices because things are abundant, and
Yes.
some astrologers say it's linked to high prices because Jupiter is riches and high value. I think with Jupiter, it depends on the context.
Yes.
Jupiter being a benefic will tend to make those things abundant which need to be abundant, and makes those, like, raise the value of luxury goods. So it depends on the context. In this case, I think that square may end up inflating the value of certain Taurian items. And there'll probably be some Jupiter type protections, maybe through social distribution, welfare, that kind of thing, to sort of buffer any of the worst possibilities. But I think that's a brilliant suggestion, Sue, that inflation due to perhaps disruption to some sort of Taurian goods might be a thing. And Taurus, of course, could be associated with money because it's minerals from the earth and foods and that kind of thing. So yeah,
which implies for some areas of the world, you know, I mean, perhaps an increase in starvation or
I mean, that's some have been saying that, and I know the eclipse path falls across Africa, but I really hope not. And I'm hoping that the Jupiter here actually will sort of mitigate that.
It is very interesting when you see this chart. I know Sue used the New York, but here I use the White House, and we can see the Pluto. I couldn't ignore that.
I know. I saw that, Rod. I thought, should I point that out? And also, again, I'm not gonna go into too much speculation here, but the moon in this chart is the ruler of the 10th house, the 8th. The 10th house is government and leaders, and the 8th house is, amongst other things, the house of crisis. So it is and other meanings, but I'm not going to go too far into that. I mean, it is just a point on that last chart. I see you've gone right in there for the juggler, Rod, with the Joe and Kamala's charts. But
you must say something about Joe Biden.
Yes,
I couldn't avoid it because in the early this year, few of me and the other colleague who really into mundane astrology, we made it twice a week, include Robin Ray, Tanya, and Sharon Knight, and we all made every 2 weeks we talk about the chart. And since early this year, we talk about things like this. I think it's Sharon especially. She was kind of keep saying, you know, he couldn't stop thinking, is there a chance for Joe Biden? She really said that like a temporary, you know, out of a power and then hand the power to Kamala Harris. I say, we don't want to see that. We really don't want to see that. And when we see this lunar eclipse, you know, fall right on his sun in the 12th house, I was like, okay, just wish him good luck, to be honest. You know, you don't want something too bad happen. And you know what happened today? I don't know. Have you read the news?
No. What's happened?
It happened.
What has happened?
Joe Biden hand the power to Kamala Harris temporarily for today. Just today.
Oh my goodness.
Just today.
Goodness. That is the day of the eclipse. I mean, the interesting thing I was going to say about the eclipse chart on the White House is, I mentioned this last week briefly. Ptolemy's timing technique said that the maximal effect of that, the full manifestation of the effects of that eclipse wouldn't be, using Ptolemy's hypotheses, wouldn't be fully manifest for about another 8 months before they show up fully. So but usually the day of the eclipse features something So that's
it
really
is
interesting.
very interesting. Although it's debatable, but I think it's not totally exact. I mean, he can't work at all. It's just for 85 minutes.
No,
Joe
but
Biden.
so the fact that that's happened today, as you say, is very
Symbolic
interesting.
speaking is very interesting, especially for astrologer. Joe
Yeah.
Biden transferred power to Miss Harris for about 85 minutes while he placed under the anesthesia for the routine colonoscopy. What sign it is? Colonoscopy. What sign it is?
Colonoscopy. Yeah, and you know what, when we talked about Joe Biden's chart last week, and that I did speculate. I don't want to speculate too much because it's my brain as a medical astrologer just goes there. When I see the ruler of the 8th eclipsed in the 6th, I'm just like, so
I know, but how interesting it happened today. I was just like
yeah.
He eclipsed his own power. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, for
giving
85
it to somebody else.
And the fact that it's Kamala, obviously is a female vice president, which is very lunar. I mean, obviously the queen.
Yes.
So
yeah, and then it's near her Jupiter. Her Jupiter is 24-degree Taurus. I think it's also her MC co-ruler. Yeah, she has MC in 2-degree Pisces.
Wow,
that is so very interesting.
So the nodes are squaring her MC, and the eclipse is happening very close to her MC ruler.
Yeah, that is very astrological speaking. It all fit all the symbolic speaking, you know. Although it's not totally she hold the power, but the 85 minutes make her the first woman in the United States history, first woman who act as a president.
Wow.
That's right. It's just like she really took, you know, the authority. That's Saturn on her.
Okay, I don't want to stay here for too long because I mean that is happened and this is quite interesting. That's it. You know,
we'll see if Mr. Ptolemy was right about the things sort of building up over the next 8 months and then being manifest in 8 months time.
Okay, 8 months time, right?
Yeah, and then the effect roughly, because it's the 8th house. So if the 12th house is a year away, and the midheaven is 6 months, it happening in the 8th house is probably between 6 and 12, so it's going to be around 8, right? So so 8 months from now, and then
about August, I think.
Yeah, and then it should last another. You said the eclipse lasted 3 hours, Rod.
Yeah, so, 3 hours something.
So the full the disruption that the whatever that eclipse is bringing will then be fully sort of in full force for about 3 months after that. So.
That eclipse, although it's a partial eclipse, actually, it's not a full eclipse.
It is still partial eclipse, nearly total.
It's going to make a very dark colored moon for those that can actually see it up in the sky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like dark red.
Dark red,
the red was not a good omen traditionally. That was
but that nearly all the lunar eclipse look like that.
Well, true, Gonna make too much of a deal of it. Yes.
I feel quite interesting because when we're talking about this, and there's a few things happen at the same time about a female, about ladies, and you know, I mean, this eclipse is kind of pretty interesting because this a moon in 27-degree of Taurus and align or conjunct with Argo, and which is a role in mythology is the Medusa, Gorgon's head. And it's quite interesting, you know, because recent news in the in I don't know because I follow the Chinese news. A very famous Chinese tennis player, lady, I think is the #1 in China, called Peng Shuai, and she accused one of the important political figure in China, kind of you know,
sexual impropriety.
Sexual impropriety. And since she revealed this news, she disappeared for 2 weeks, and now. She disappeared for 2 weeks, and today this has become a big news because all the famous tennis and the people try to support her, say we want to know where she is now, and she did write an email to WTA, Women Tennis Association, but the people believe that's not her email, that's not she writing it, or she being forced to pay it. And then even WTA say something, I really really respect them. They say if China didn't tell WTA where is Peng Shuai, is she safe, they will totally withdraw from China. An association
Wow.
decide totally, they don't want to go to China anymore.
That's so perfect for the symbolism, isn't it? Because
yeah, it
you've got
is.
that the moon in Taurus is exalted or eminent women.
Yeah.
On like you say, Algol, it's the Gorgon's head. So
Yeah.
Medusa was assaulted, shall we say, by
because
Poseidon
by
in the
Poseidon,
temple.
exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
And then that's how she became the Gorgon. And that's that I never really understood that myth, by the way, because it always seemed to me grotesquely unfair, which of course, if you
I know from a human view,
woman gets assaulted in the temple, and then the goddess is angry and doesn't punish him, punishes her by turning her into a monster with snakes into stone. It's like, what the hell? But then if you read it on a symbolic level, if you have been the victim of that kind of assault, you can, because you see this in people who have been, sometimes people who are subjected to horrific events, kind of become, because of the trauma, can go either way. They can become so filled with understandable rage that they're like, and you can see that I get that, like the sort of like the turning, that it could go that way.
It could. I think because symbolic and the mythology does give that meaning, and I just feel like wow, talking about this and the reading, because I was just listening to BBC News and talking about WTA announced a demanded knowing where she is she safe, and I just feel like it's totally fit into this story,
It does, and even the Jupiter Aquarius thing maybe is the public sort of outcry, wanting to see justice done, because Jupiter's all about justice, and sort of, and the Algol thing is a bit worrying, because Algol is obviously traditionally associated with people losing their heads, metaphorically or otherwise. So we'll see.
Yes, we will see. And then now we back to London's chart. So I think for us, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to say many things, but this eclipse chart is a kind of a very interesting for us, because it's on that no, I shouldn't say six. It's a fifth and six, between fifth and six, and the sun is between.
No, it's six. It's six.
For you, it's six. Yeah. Oh, yes, it's six. Yes. Yeah. Okay, 6, 12. And then nearly kind of I think Netherlands is locked down, and then Austria is locked down. And then it's just quite surprisingly, we still. Hey, go to do whatever you like.
Which I personally am very glad about. I know there'll be mixed opinions out there.
It's true. It's true.
It's very, but we'll see. I mean, it's certainly, this is not an encouraging chart.
No. We saw the chart like this. It's like, ooh.
But it's also, there's a little other thing in there. There's a capacity for deception in there, because Mercury is pretty close to trine to Neptune in the eclipse.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, how much can we believe?
Yes,
being put out
and combust as well, Sue, very close to the sun. Also, so that's so not only is it sort of picking up Neptune's sort of smudgy vibes, it's also it can't really be seen properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not very clear, is it?
Yeah. Just wish us good
Truth
luck.
Is not clear at this stage.
Oh, all right. I think it's just 30 minutes. I think we should really just like really enjoy discussion this chart to bring more like what happened right now, especially
keep talking.
but I think it's quite interesting, because a few news just before before we start today's podcast, I just hear a few news that was so interesting and totally fit into this eclipse. How often this is going to happen? So I think this is how we learn astrology, to be honest. Like study the chart and then see what happened around us, and that is kind of Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you everyone, and we will come back next week. And then stay in tune. And if you have any comment, let us know. And if you have any question about astrology, or if you have any subject you want us to talk about, give us a message on the here, and then we will talk about it. Okay. See you next week.
Yeah.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye, guys.